So today we're going to be discussing trends in online and blended learning environments. The purpose of this presentation is to discuss things that have been identified as helpful when it comes to the implementation in online and blended learning environments. Online environments are unique in that the teacher is not in the classroom with the students, and blended learning environments are unique in that they require not only that face-to-face portion, but also an online portion. So just wanting to be considerate of what is helpful in those scenarios. For the agenda, first we will discuss accessibility, then teacher self-development, future teacher preparation, assessment, and user interface. In the area of accessibility, it is important to know that this refers to the ability a student has to interface and interact with the material. This is vital because when done properly, the student feels like they are a part of the classroom and they don't feel a separation between them and the other students in the classroom. In a face-to-face classroom, it's easier to understand whether or not something is accessible because you'll see the student interfacing with the material. In an online environment, it's harder. So the best way to ensure this is to make sure that students can engage with the material while the material is being designed. This can be the slides, this can be the way that the students interfaces the material through LMS, whatever the case may be. This is best implemented online by designing to be prepared for any student to enter the classroom. So taking into consideration students that are deaf and might not be able to listen to a video, or students that have something happening with their eyesight, and so ensuring that they're able to see the difference between colors that are being used on the slides and things of that nature. It's also important to note that just because it is designed for a student who may have what one might call a limitation and that requires that accessibility doesn't mean that it's not helpful to have for individuals that are in unique environments. For example, someone who's online might benefit from a transcript for the slideshow or for the video because it'll help them when they're doing their studying while doing something else. Success comes when the design addresses the following elements, and then there's a list of all the elements that one needs to consider. This is specifically noted in an article by Eaton, where the author discusses how accessibility needs to be considered and shows that in these areas, it is most successful when a designer is taken into consideration. Teacher self-development. So self-development should be continual, and being a lifelong learner is an awesome thing that everyone understands to be helpful. But when it comes to online teaching, there are a lot of unique things that a teacher needs to understand. So this can happen both in in-service training and in personal and professional development, and should address new digital tools and online resources that that teacher might need to interface with. This is best implemented by providing or gaining access to online coursework with help functions. Success comes when when professional development is free and can be targeted. So this means that the teacher should not have to pay for these resources, and they also should be able to highlight specific areas that they need to study or need to address versus being required to go through entire blocks of instruction for unique and specific questions. The professional development should cover both institution-specific requirements, but it should also be a la carte, once again, to address specific and unique needs. Future teacher preparation. So in the article by Bothwick, the authors note that there is a steadily increasing frequency of online education. A teacher that is graduating from college currently is going to have to be well versed in and understand how to use online resources. It is just the way that the industry has gone. And so this lessened face-to-face exchange is going to require different skill sets. We want to ensure that teachers that are being prepared, those pre-service teachers, to go out into the workforce, have access to online tools and applications that will help them with those obstacles. We also want to teach them how to leverage tools within an LMS. This is best implemented by leveraging the Community of Inquiry framework, which deals with teacher presence and understanding how a teacher teaches in an online environment because it is different than it would be in a face-to-face environment. It's also understanding social presence and the online social environment and all of the nuances associated with it, and then addressing cognitive presence and ensuring that a teacher understands the way that a student will learn, address, and glean from the material that is presented. Success comes when colleges directly support pre-service teachers. In this article, the author discusses that since digital connectivity is the norm, it is in our best interest to ensure that pre-service teachers know how to work in that area so that they can go be successful. And teachers that have recently graduated stated that online programs that addressed that need, or that programs that address that need, helped them to teach online after graduation. Assessment. So assessment is going to help a teacher to gain insight into a student's level of understanding. This is going to be critical in an online and blended environment because the teacher is not there to ask questions along the way. So considering how assessment is presented and how assessment works is vital. Also, it's going to be helpful in those blended environments when a student needs to be able to understand on their own before coming into the classroom the next day how that information is presented and their grasp of that information. This is especially vital because, again, as I stated earlier, a student's maturity and focus is not directly controllable. In the classroom, you can tell a student to pay attention. You can make sure that obstacles and distractions are not there. But in an online environment, the teacher is not present. This is best implemented by determining the most appropriate type of assessment and identifying what the learner needs to learn. So a student or a teacher needs to assess what information is important and make sure they ask questions in the correct way about that information. In an article by Hamilton, the author discusses that assessments that are used properly and teach or increase teachers' practice and improve student learning. And so that's the way that we can see that there is success in the proper implementation of assessments. User interface. So user interface has to do with the expectation that a student has when they're dealing with materials online. This includes the presentation of deadlines, access to material, methods to engage with other students in the class, the way that assessments are given, the way that a student takes the assessment. All of these things are important when it comes to considering user interface. A standardized LMS is going to greatly help with this. And another thing that is important to understanding user interface is going to be intuitive design. This is best implemented online by consistently using the same terms and processes in every course across the institution or in every class throughout a specific subject. But it's best, of course, when it's used throughout the institution because that also helps teachers be able to learn from other teachers because they're all using the same LMS. Success comes again when institutions establish agreements when it comes to the LMS course template and terminology throughout the organization. And again, user interface is important not just for the users that are teacher or students, but also for the users that are teachers, because the teachers are able to gain a deeper understanding if they're using the same LMS everywhere, and so are the students that are a part of that institution. So I hope this was helpful. Here are the references that were throughout the presentation and what was used to understand the trends and see how they were best applied.